Wow, we have a 27 of our colleagues to accept the invite today. That's amazing. I know, including three of us, should be 24.
Okay, we'll probably just wait for a couple of minutes for people to join. As Fuchs said, we have possibly more than 20 people joining our session today. So yeah, just give a couple of minutes. And yeah, if you guys want to go and grab coffee or tea and quickly and then come back. Hi, Lynn.
Hi, wait. Hi, everyone. Hi, chị Phúc.
Hi, Ling. So nice to
Yeah.
have you today.
Yeah. I have class at 2:30. So I hope I can stay for a while.
That's great.
And actually, I have a assignment to do today with we.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
learning. Yeah, I'm learning the grass search this semester. So need to spend time work on assignment as well.
Well, you still have 2 days left.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the meeting, this session is going to be recorded. So if you have to go a bit earlier later, you can always catch up the recording for the rest of the session. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I will check the recording.
Okay, cool. We'll share the recording afterwards.
Oh, my apologies. I've got the dreaded back-to-backs.
Yeah.
So just hi, did you do all the pleasantries? Say hello.
Hi, Karen.
Wait to say
Hey.
hello. So Karen, I think Fuchs just said we have like more than 20 people accepted the invitation, so we're sort of waiting for others to join anyway. Yeah.
Okay, and we're recording, right?
Yes.
Luca, you can't hear. Is there anybody else can't hear?
Well, for me, it's okay. I mean, I can hear you very well.
I can hear and I can see.
Okay, cool.
What more could you want, Manny? Okay, excellent.
Luca, you might want to log off and log in again and try that. Oh, yeah, he can't hear, so probably need to chat with him.
Yeah, okay. I think I appreciate we had quite a lot of people accept, but I think in the interest of everyone's time, and probably people have commitments at 3 o'clock, we should probably start. Then we've got time for the questions as well. Maybe we'll just give. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, sure. The Devmali, the recording will just pop up in the meeting, right? In the Teams part. Okay, I can't believe we're here again. It's another year of getting ready for the Excellence in Learning and Teaching Awards. It comes around so quickly and really excited to be launching again for this year. So I'll start off by walking you through a little bit about why you might think of applying for an award, and kind of what are the benefits of applying for an award. And then I'm going to hand over to Foot and Wei to take you through the nuts and bolts of the different award categories and which one will work for you. Foot, Wei, do you want to take people just to put questions in the chat, or how do you want to do it?
Yeah,
Yep.
I think we can take people's question in the chat. Yes.
Awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff. Alrighty. So what are awards all about? So awards, I think the clue's in the title, it's excellence in learning and teaching. So we're looking at if you've done something really special, something really exciting, and you've had good outcomes with your students, or even great outcomes with your students. So we have the fellowship that recognises good practice against a professional standards framework, and then we have the awards which recognise exceptional practice. So for staff, I think all our staff are dedicated to supporting students, but this is really if you have noticed a real challenge or a gap or a problem in the teaching or in your course, and you've identified that gap, and then you've taken action to address the gap. So there's lots of things. I could talk at length about all the really exciting things that we've heard that people have done in their courses, but some significant examples as overhauling assessments, redesigning the materials that students use, creating fashion gardens, traveling around Vietnam to learn about traditional weaving and dyeing techniques to encourage students to learn about their own culture, putting SDGs into courses. I mean, there's lots and lots of examples, building apps to help first year students. So lecturers or also professional staff who have noticed a particular gap and they've got a really exciting response to that gap. So in the criteria, one of the criteria is the innovation, describe the innovation or creativity or imagination that you've applied to address this gap and to take action. The all awards need to evidence sustained impact over a period of 2 years, not including a pilot. So this means, you've taken action, your intervention has started at least 2 years ago. During that time, you've had the opportunity to evaluate what works, what doesn't work, any lessons learned, make some changes. But you can evidence the impact of what you've done. So it shouldn't be at the very start of some new initiative that you're doing now because you're excited about it, but planning to have the data from the last 2 years at least. And I mentioned that in particular because firstly, it's a criteria. But secondly, there might be people here who are thinking, actually, it could be this year I look at an award, or it could be next year, because that gives me more time to think about the impact and to evaluate what I've been doing. So today we're going to look at why doing an application. We're going to look at the categories, eligibility, how it's assessed. We'll talk a little bit about the application requirements. And we'll talk about how learning and teaching can support your application, the timeline for this year, and then we'll review the criteria and, obviously time for questions. And if we don't manage to get to everybody's questions today, we'll be able to get back to you. So why apply for an award? Lots of reasons. Always delightful to be recognised for exceptional work, of course. But I'm just going to focus on the second one initially. And I think there may be people in here who have achieved or been recipients of awards in the past. Lynn's here. The act of writing a scholarly application is an act of professional development in itself. So as you work through the reflection that's required, as you think about and articulate your teaching philosophy, you articulate why you took a particular approach, you examine how it's worked, you start to evaluate and think what frameworks you use for evaluation. There is a significant amount of learning that happens as part of responding to the criteria of an award. So the professional development part is actually, and we hear that a lot. So we always speak to people who've been successful and they often speak about how much they've learned as a result of writing their application. It might seem as if we're trying to make you jump through hoops when we work with you on the consultation, but it's also about that learning as you think about your practice in order to be able to present a compelling case and a compelling claim for the panel. Of course, awards can support academic and professional promotion. And then the last one I'd like to really focus on as well is the opening doors for new opportunities. So we've seen some really exciting stuff happen with the grant money that people have received from awards. If I just think about one that's happening at the moment with Rachel has used the money to develop an app for first year design students that's being rolled out here and across numerous other universities internationally. that grant money helped her get that across the line, and we helped and supported her with some of the work around the compliance on that. We've seen some really exciting software be used. I've seen a really nice use of the grant money for working with students as partners to create animation videos to teach students in a Profcom course. That was really exciting. Seen some really nice animation work done around well-being and a sense of belonging at the university. So that money was used to hire professional animators and use that. So really exciting what you can do with that grant money. Really, it's kind of just up to your imagination as long as it connects to your practice and or your career. Also, the other opportunities it opens are things like presenting your work at the L&T Festival. It gives people confidence to present their work at other conferences externally. It can be used for writing fellowship applications. It can be written up for case studies and shared, and we're going to be starting an external blog soon with case studies. So there's lots of doors, like lots of opportunities can come from the award. And of course, not forgetting that we have a pretty good success rate with award applications that go from Vietnam to Melbourne to the Vice Chancellor's Awards. And that again opens other opportunities for you. So I guess it's not just about Vietnam, even though that's incredibly valuable, but it also opens up a whole range of other opportunities. So how can we support you and what does it look like? So, of course, we work really closely with you to help you craft your application and help the thinking and the learning to help you write a compelling argument. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. The RMIT Vietnam Awards, if anyone's here, you might know that anybody that's successful in the Vietnam Awards, I contact and approach them to work with them to submit for the Vice Chancellor's Awards in Melbourne. And sometimes we submit the next year, sometimes it's 2 years because people want more time to gather more evidence or evaluate the impact of their intervention. Since last year, RMIT Vietnam is now eligible to submit successful Vice Chancellor Awards to the Australian University Teaching Awards, the Australian Awards for University Teaching. That's massive. We couldn't get that across the line until last year. Each institution can only submit 6 citations, and they basically, anyone who's been successful in the Vice Chancellor Award goes into that pot, and then the committee in Melbourne will select the 6 from across the university that can be submitted for the Australian University Teaching Awards. Of course, when you write your award application, as I said, you can repurpose a lot of that material for a fellowship. It's also the reflections built in there, the evaluation, the impact, all those elements that you need for a fellowship. You can't just copy and paste it. It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. You do need to rework it and recraft it to be aligned with the professional standards framework. But there's definitely the thinking has been done and some of the writing has been done. So quite often people will do the two together. And of course, as you know, you can use your award as a piece of evidence for academic promotion. Actually, you can also use your award in your fellowship application as a form of recognition and vice versa. So that's it for me. I'm going to hand over now to, who am I handing over to? To Bob.
Wait, no,
You hand it to me,
Wait.
Karen.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks,
Can
Karen.
you drive yourself or not?
Let me have a look. Yes, I can. Great.
Awesome.
Okay. Hi, everyone. For some of you who might know me, because I'm based in Hanoi, my name is Yan Wei. You can call me Wei. And together with Karen and Phuc, I'm going to support you with this fellowship, teaching award application. And we also do some support with the fellowship, senior fellowship. Yeah, but focus of this session is on teaching award. Okay. So I'm going to walk you through the categories and of different awards and also the requirements and what sort of support do we provide you in the whole application journey. So first, let's have a look. We do have 3 different categories for the awards. We have Teaching Excellence Award, we have Teaching Citation Award, and also have award for programs and services. So those awards are not only for academic staff members, and they are also, so 2 of the awards are also offered to our professional staff, which is Teaching Citation and Program Services Award. So you can apply individually, or if it's some sort of achievement that's collaborated among the teams, so you can also apply that together as a team. And as Karen already mentioned, that you do need to put forward at least 2 years of impact. So this 2 years, we got questions about from teachers that when do we count these 2 years? So the 2 years where, say by the time you apply, by the time you put forward your application, so that's about 2 years. But we would also like you to consider if you can provide sufficient evidence of your impact, because we do need this at least 2 years to see the evidence that you have on the student learning and teaching. Okay, and every award, so the 3 categories, we have every award we have a rubric, and these rubrics are all similar. So we really recommend you to read the rubrics when you draft your award. So basically, I'm not going to look into details of the rubrics, but the rubrics will cover, for example, your positive impact on student learning and the sort of recognition you get from your colleagues, from your department, or maybe even from your institution or wider community. So you might want to start thinking about the evidences that you can provide for that part. And Karen also mentioned about innovation creativity. So some of the past applicants, that the recipients of the awards, they have shown really strong innovation and creativity in their application. And then lastly, one of the criteria, the rubrics does cover, so you got to demonstrate your understanding of scholarly literature. And in our application resources, we will have those sort of support resources to help you with that. And you can also approach us for support on that. So we have a panel, and in order to make sure that it's a fair system, and we have a very comprehensive list of panel members. For example, we have deans from each school, and we have director of academic success. We have manager of learning and teaching, and we also have past winner of the awards to be part of our panel members. And we get representatives from Melbourne. I met in Melbourne as well. And in order to be fair to our Hanoi colleagues, we also have rep from Hanoi as well. Okay, and let's look at them in more details. So you can see that we have this citation. I just mentioned we have 3 categories, right? We have Citation Award, Teaching Excellence Award, Program and Services Award. As you can see, you might notice that the citation and teaching excellence, they are in similar color, because they share a lot of similarities between the 2 of them. For example, you can apply as a team, or you can apply individually. So the Citation and Teaching Excellence Award, you need to demonstrate your impact on student learning, the quality of student learning as well. And they are open to early career and hourly staff. So when you apply, for example, we have some early career or early staff members that you can take on the cover letter that you need to choose if you're early career or hourly staff. But for other normal staff members outside early career and hourly staff, that you don't really need to take that. Okay, the differences will be, we do have academic staff, professional staff can apply for Citation Award. One of the main difference here is the application criteria. So for Citation Award, you need to meet 1 application criteria. However, for the Teaching Excellence Award, you will need to meet all the 4 application criteria. Okay, now I'm going to show you what are these application criteria. Okay, So the application criteria for citation and teaching excellence there are 4 of them. As I said already, for the citation, you only need to choose one of them. But for the teaching excellence, you will need to meet all the criteria. Okay, so the criteria covers approach to teaching and support of learning. Or it can be about your development of curriculum or resources and services. For example, some of the module, the course leaders, the course coordinators might go for that award for this if they're applying for citation. Okay, or if you have done something really, really innovative or some really effective assessment practices, that will be the criteria 3. Or you have done excellent in your leadership and innovation, that could be criteria 4. Okay, again, for the teaching excellence, you got to meet all the criteria. Okay, and now let's look at the program services. So for the program services, they are offered to both academic staff members and professional staff members. And you got to apply that as a team. And for program services, you have 4 application criteria. And there are categories, but you only need to choose one of the categories. So let's look at the criteria here. Again, these are about your coherence and clarity with purpose and your influence on student learning and the student experience. And you also need to have the impact that needs to be not only depth, but also in breadth and addressing equity and diversity. These are very detailed explained in the application guide or in the program and services. So I really, really recommend you to read them in details, take notes when you're applying, when you're writing your application. Okay, and as I mentioned, for the program and services, we have 4 categories, but you only need to choose one of the categories. So the number 1 is student experience that support diversity or inclusive practices. The second one is about your educational partnership. And third is about curriculum transformation and innovative pedagogy. The last one that is about working together learning. So all of them that you need to demonstrate that the program or services has made contribution to student learning and the quality of student experience. Okay, again, if you have questions, please feel free to just post into the chat and we're going to answer them at either during the session or at the end of the session. Okay, now I'm going to walk you through the application requirements, some of the key elements. So the key submission documents you need to give, which is the main one will be your written statement that addresses the criteria, and they are of different lengths. So coming back to the 3 categories for the teaching citation, that would be 4 A4 pages. For the teaching excellence, that will be 8 A4 pages. And for the program and services, that will be 10 A4 pages. I'm talking about the maximum number. And a lot of cases that we reviewed in the past, that it might be a little bit more difficult to cut down. Not necessarily to write that many, but actually cutting down the word count is a bit more challenging. So, but please make sure that when you are writing your application, when you submit it, you need to meet these criteria. Otherwise, that will become a bit difficult for us to submit to the panel, or it might cause unfairness to the other applicants. So please make sure that you follow the instructions on the guide, applicant guide. Okay, these have mentioned clearly what the length, for example, what you need to cover. Okay, and one of the awards will ask you to provide CV, which is the Teaching Excellence Award. If you apply the teaching award in a team, then you will need to put down the statement of contribution. That's for the team awards. But if you apply by yourself, you don't need to do that. So for every team member, you need to have at least 10% of contribution. again, that's stated on a guide as well. Okay, some of the application that you will need to provide some support materials and evidences. I think that's especially true for the teaching excellence. Again, you can find more details on what sort of supporting materials and evidence from the guide. And 2 written references. These references, one of the reference will need to be from the head of department or school or admin unit, or even someone who is at higher level. Okay, so the references will need to be provided by someone who are able to comment on the contribution against your application criteria. Okay, those are about our different categories and these application requirements. And now let's look at the resources, the support we have for you. Okay, so this year we are initiating this mentoring program for the teaching award. Still at this launching stage, but already got some mentors, volunteer mentors. So we are going to either you can approach the mentor, or you can ask us to help you connect with a mentor that they can help you with reviewing your first draft. So we really recommend you to write the draft based on the application guide and the resources we'll provide you, and also go and get a mentor to help you to look at your draft. So the mentors are all the past recipients of the teaching award. So they have the experience of writing that and successfully received a teaching award. Okay, we also have other support from our learning and teaching team. For example, we have workshops. So my colleague Fook is going to discuss the different types of workshops to you later in more details. And you will also find the resources on Learning and Teaching Hub. So the resources will include, for example, you will get to see the past successful written applications, and you can see how to collect data, how to collect evidence, what sort of evidence are there. And you also get some references to the literature. As we mentioned, the literature needs to be there for your application. Okay, and you also get an application guide. That will be the document that I suggest you to look at first. And you will also get some resources from RMIT Melbourne. Okay, and we also have this support program for individual applicants teams that's going to be run by Karen, Fook, and I. So we have this peer observation program that Fook has supported. But you can find your colleague to observe your classes and give you some feedback, or you can approach us, that we're happy to come to a classroom and observe your lessons and provide you some written or oral feedback based on your classes. And we also offer some consultations. So in the beginning, you might be thinking, what sort of outline, or is this, or am I on the right track? You are very welcome to approach us, and we're very happy to look at this outline and provide support on that. Okay, and then after you finish the outline, you start draft, and when you have drafts, again, you can get your draft. Again, first draft, we recommend you to go and find your mentor to give you some support on that. And afterwards, you can approach us based on some changes, and then we are very happy to look at draft for you and give you some feedback. Okay, and now I'm going to discuss that in order to do that, you do need to be committing to a lot of time in this, in order for us to give you comprehensive feedback and to allow you to react on a draft. You got to start planning early. And past evidence shows that for teachers or professional staff members who plan earlier, they have a lot better chance of actually successfully getting the award. So it normally takes us 5 to 7 working days to review your application. And then you could get, for example, 2 drafts, or maybe you want a 3rd draft feedback. But again, if you want to do that, you will need to leave enough time. Okay, so here, for example, if you're looking for feedback on 2 draft, then you will need to submit your first draft 45 weeks before the submission date. Okay, so that's about minimum a month in advance. And because then you will have time to get feedback from us, and then you will also have some time to actually react on the draft, make some changes. Okay, again, if you have any questions about the whole thing, feel free to just leave the comments or questions on the chat. I think that's about my session. Okay, now I'm going to pass it to Fook.
Yeah, thanks, Wei. So as Wei said early, we have different mechanism to support you, and one of them is through different resources on our hub. So maybe I just want to take you to the hub a little bit and briefly introduce to you what we have. So Karen, you are sharing the screen. Do you mind stop sharing so I can share my screen? Thanks. So I just add the link to the page in the chat. And now I'm going to share my screen. So this is the page that we have. And as you can see, all the information you need here, all the links you can also find in the helpful links part. And we have the application resource folder. So this one. Yeah, so I just want to maybe repeat a little bit of the information that Wei said. Just maybe it could be a little bit easier for you to navigate because there could be a lot of things here. So we have the award guidelines, and if you open this one, I think they open this, you can see all the guidelines for all of the award category. And then I have a different resources, and they are divided and named according to the stage of you developing your application. I hope that the title or the name of the folder is self-explanatory enough so that you know when you should look at them. For instance, the first one is like before you start drafting your application, or also during the process, you can look at this one. Yes, we have something called a teaching award application planner. And let me take you to that a little bit. We are going to talk about this in detail in one of our workshops, but I just want to quickly show you so that you have some idea about what it is. So different application is a different story and different narratives, but we hope that when we prepare this document is a way to help you to narrate your story a little bit, to think about the flow or the kind of information that you might need to include in your application. We develop it following the stage by stage thing. So if you just look at them, it can give you some idea about how to write your application. Yeah, so that is something you might want to look at. And we also have, as Wei said, that if you are an educator and you want to apply for teaching award, so one source of evidence, it could be the feedback from colleagues who observe you. So if you want us to sit in your class and observe you for that purpose, please feel free to drop us a line on Teams chat or email, for instance. And in order to understand more about how the peer observation is conducted for this purpose, you can also look at this page. We have the areas of teaching and learning that we look at for this purpose. We have another thing is in your application, you have to present the evidence of your excellence. And we have this folder presenting evidence of teaching excellence. We have some documents that you can look at so that you know what kind of evidence you could consider including and how you can present the evidence. So it's some resources for you to refer to. We have this one. So one part that you have to do in your application is to refer to the literature. And we anticipate that there could be some difficulties for you in finding the right literature to support. So we developed this document, hopefully that it can give you some starting point if you need to have some starting point. So yeah, some good references could be found here. And we organize them into different topics. Hopefully that it could make things easier for you to navigate. And we have this one. So that is the RMIT scholarly practice document. You can look at this one and have some ideas about what kind of activities are considered scholarly so that you can include in your application, because teaching a word application is a scholarly application. We have the cover page. You have to use this cover when you submit the final application. So we also have it here for you to use, and we have the rubric. So I think these are the questions that C have. Yes, we have the as the last page on the guideline of every teaching award category, and also we have it here just in case you need to quickly find it. And the rubric is the same for all the category. Yeah, it's just a quick thing for you to show you what we have in the resources, applicant resources here. And if you have any questions about which one, how to use, please just feel free to contact us, and we are more than happy to support. We also have some other thing like sample application, as we mentioned earlier. So it's the samples from the previous years. Yeah, so it's a little bit, I think I might want to take you to. And now another kind of support is we have the workshop. And as I'm showing on the screen here, we have a 2 writing workshop coming from the RMIT Vietnam teaching and learning team. One is in April. And the main content of this workshop is to help you understand the basic components of an application and how to write a teaching philosophy statement. We have some workshop delivered by RMIT Melbourne team, and we need to confirm about this in the near future what they are. And we also have another workshop from our team, RMIT Vietnam, in July, just like to put all the things together and some should and shouldn't do for your application. And we also going to have some time to look at the rubric in detail. So that is some of the workshop that we are planning. And in order to register for the workshop, you just need to go out to Hub, and then there is a link for you to register. About the timeline, yes, so from March to July, we are going to have the information session. It means today we are going to have the workshop, and we hope the mentorship will also happen, and we can do early consultation for you, meet with us like me, Wei, and Karen. And then from, I think, the 7th of June, the submit intent to apply, the intent to apply is going to open. And then it closes on the 5th of August. And then we have this time for the submission of your application. And you will receive the panel feedback around November. And then we have the ceremony in December. So this could be a lot of information for you if this is the first time you are in a teaching or info session. So I just want to suggest this a little bit, like where to start. Yeah, so you might want to start by looking at the teaching or application planner, the thing that I introduced to you a little bit earlier. It's about like what kind of information you might want to think of to include in your application. This document could be a very good thing to start with. Yes, and our SharePoint, yes, all the information you need is on the page. And I do also suggest you looking at the sample from the previous years and how to find them again. Please visit our hub page, and from the helpful link section, you can find the link to the sample. And just one more note from our team that is please read the guideline and follow them closely. Because there is one thing, for instance, like there are some core components that you have to submit for your application to be assessed. And if you don't submit all the required documents, your application is not going to be assessed. And you spend all the time doing all the things. So it could be really a shame if it's just for that reason that you don't get the award, right? So our suggestion is please read the guide. And if any questions or anything, we are here to support. So just let us know. Yeah, so I think that is from me also. So any questions, please feel free to ask. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, I think.
Hi, it's Manny here. I wondered if it might be useful for people to perhaps to give some examples of what should be submitted as citations and what might not be good enough or not yet. For example, if let's say theoretically, if I rewrite an entire course and I did a major uplift, or let's not major uplift, let's just say a standard uplift on Canvas, and the feedback from students was very positive. Is that good enough as a for submitting a citation for teaching and learning?
Oh, could you pull back up the categories? Pull up the slide with the categories on.
Sure.
Like, you know, there's the 4 elements. One of them's assessment, one of them's leadership, one of them is curriculum development.
Yep.
So I can talk a little bit to that then. Perhaps makes more sense to talk about to that around. Yeah, okay. So yeah, okay. So Manny, for example, that one may be development of curricular resources and services. And actually the end of that sentence from memory is that evidence a command of the field. So let me give you an example of one that was successful recently here and in Melbourne. That was, it was just in Pang actually. So he had noticed that when he benchmarked RMIT courses against other tourism, I can't remember, rooms division, I think it was, his course against other universities internationally, he realized that we didn't have analytics in there and the finance module, which meant that our students were disadvantaged in terms of employability. So he worked with industry to bring that in and to make sure that we benchmarked better. And then he could evidence the employability benefits for his students. So I think it's excellent. So it needs to be able to connect to an outcome, a particular outcome. Perhaps a lot of people use CES, student satisfaction, as that evidence, but really it needs to be more than that. It's more than satisfaction. So I guess often people aren't quite sure if they're. Often people underestimate how impressive their changes on their work is actually. So it's really worth coming and having a chat to one of us, because what we'll do is we'll pull out the category, we'll ask you a bunch of questions, and then we'll go, yes, you've got something to write about there, or don't know, that kind of seems like that's your job.
Yeah.
So, you know, for
No,
example,
I think that'd be very useful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's just the job of the course coordinator to iteratively improve a course, right? And sometimes they do something that really sets us apart or sets that course apart, leads the way innovatively, like a significant, you know, I'll just say, for example, you know, the Photo 101 course that's gone asynchronous, you know, in a couple of years' time, we'd expect to see that because that's been kind of really innovative in that field. You know, some of the work that Cheryl's doing around integrating like local practices in fashion, you know, that kind of thing, the above and beyond, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
But sometimes hard to know if it's above and beyond. So
Yeah,
definitely
I think it's
worth
the
a
above
chat.
and beyond thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah, not
Yeah.
just the standard. Yeah, expected.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
think we've seen enough now. We've probably seen enough applications over the last few years to know what the panel would consider above and beyond. But just a little word about that criteria, the innovation, creativity, and imagination criteria on the rubric. If you come to talk to us about it, or when the panel assesses an application, like sometimes something's really innovative in your discipline, but not in somebody else's. But that doesn't mean that it's not still a valuable So you need to think about context and how you might kind of the narrative you might use about something being above and beyond in your discipline. Because it does vary, of course, across different courses or different disciplines. Did you want to add anything for Wei? Did you want to add anything around that?
Yeah, I think Karen, you have explained clearly from my side anyway. There are also samples. If you want to say there are samples for teaching citation and teaching excellence, that might give you an idea of how, the sort of different requirements can be and expectations that we have in each application. So I recommend you to also go to read these samples to have some more solid ideas, perhaps. But
Sure.
again, you are also very welcome, if we get some sort of outline and then get some impact evidences that outline of impact evidence, you are very welcome to show us. And yeah, we can give you some of my suggestions, but you don't really have to take.
Great.
But we're happy to.
I have one
Yeah.
quick cheeky question, if I may. I wondered if we
I don't
can use.
know.
I wonder if we can use AI to help us write our citation, particularly with referencing and so on.
Oh, but the referencing's really kind of erratic. Or do you mean using something like Cite AI?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know,
like,
to be honest. I'm just wondering.
yeah. Well, look. I think the critical thing, it's the same when you write any scholarly application, isn't it? The critical thing is that what you write, like your philosophy, is a run through of what you write. I don't know how easy or hard this would be to do with AI. It's so personal. Like applications are so personal and so context specific. So I guess if you're talking about crafting language, I just don't know how effective it would be to use AI to write it, because it's so specific to your course or your initiative or your work.
Maybe it could be a research project here.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay,
Just
I
add
shut
it on
up
the
now.
list. Add it on the list.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Manny. Thank you. Yeah, just to say, if there's a few questions there around, which one would I go for? Sometimes it's quite difficult to tease out whether it's the assessment one or the curriculum one, or the learning and teaching that inspires students. Also, that's something we can help you. If you talk us through what you're thinking to write about, we can also help you select which of those criteria might be the best fit for you, because sometimes that's a bit to kind of unpack and work out where it might fit. Tom, that's a really good question. We don't always have someone that meets the criteria for excellence. We don't award every year. We usually get less award applicants. We don't have a quota. So in Melbourne, for example, they have a quota. There is 1 teaching excellence per year and up to 10 citations. We don't have a quota. We have a budget, but usually there's enough for what comes in and how many we can award. But the excellence is, there's a lot of criteria to meet there. So have a look at it, see what you think. Suffice to say, we always manage to award citations. We don't always manage to award excellence. But sometimes we have 2. Sometimes we have 2, sometimes we have 1, sometimes we have none. It's really personal depending on your. So I'm not saying it's an easier game. It depends what you've got to write about. But there's less. You have to only write to 1 criteria, right? Not all 4, Tom. So I guess in that space, you might think it's an easier game. Don't know. They're all a learning experience, Manny.
No, I read a few citations, and I can tell you they're not easy at all. There's a lot of work involved, so I can appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the excellence awards aren't for nothing, right? But also how you present the work that you've done can be a piece of work, because you haven't necessarily thought about presenting it against the criteria of the rubric. So That does take some thinking. That's why that plan is really super helpful, actually. Awesome. If you've got any questions, drop us a line. Doesn't matter, just drop any of us a line. I don't think we've got a system worked out yet how we're going to do this, the three of us. It was kind of just me and then me and Fup, and now it's me, Fup and Way, so we haven't quite worked out a system. But look, just drop us a line if you've got any questions, and we'll take it from there. And to remind you, there's the ITA, intent to apply period, and ITA requires the endorsement of your line manager. I can't remember whether we said that or not. So you may also want to be talking to your line manager, because they do need to endorse your intention to apply for the award. It's good to have
Karen, can I ask you another
Yeah.
question, a quick
Yeah.
one? If any of my staff wanting to write up a citation, is that workloaded?
Oh, I've got no idea how you manage that. Do you mean as in terms of workload allocation?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just gonna go, that's not us.
Okay.
That's up to you guys in your schools or in your programs.
I'll ask Julia. Thank you.
Yeah, ask Julia, not me. But yeah, but it's worth starting to have a chat with us to think about what it might be. Have a chat to your line manager, because they'll need to endorse it. Yeah, and then take it from there.
Okay, thanks.
Nice. All right, see you later. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.
I just, oh, she's gone. I'm talking.